Learn to let go, hold on to let go, show it off, 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 show it off.
This is the Show It Off podcast, encouraging you to show off your unique self, your true, messy, beautiful, perfectly imperfect self. This is about discovering and sharing your inner light with confidence. When we do this, everyone benefits. The law of oneness means any good we do for ourselves is doing good for all. I am Sarah Faye Schaff. I am a single mom who helps other single moms build a life they are proud of and happy in, as I learn to do the same. After creating a successful confidence-building youth program for girls in California and using my 11 years experience as a yoga and meditation teacher, I am a confidence coach, helping women from here in Hawaii, where I am living a simple island life with my daughter. Each Monday, this podcast serves up true stories and inspiring messages to support you on your journey to becoming shamelessly and unapologetically confident, so you can show off your light, show off your authentic self, show off who you were born to be. This is the Show It Off podcast. Are you a single mama? Are you ready to change the experience of being a single mama? No longer do we have to be poor, stressed, exhausted, lonely, or unhealthy, working 3 jobs and barely ever seeing our kids. Nope, that may have been the way single mamas were doing things in the past, but we are a new generation of women, and we have new resources at our fingertips. What if being a single mom looked like being in a village of sister friends, sharing expenses, supporting each other in childcare and household responsibilities, all while making lots of money and having a great balance of being present with your babies, but also using your mind and energy to doing work that you love? Sound impossible? Well, it's very possible, and I know this because I'm doing it myself right now, and I can show you how. I have built an online course with an interactive online community that includes modules like Self-Care 101, Be Your Own Boss, How to Build Community Where You Are Right Now, How to Be Happy as a Single Woman, Dating as a Single Mama, and my personal favorite, You Can Do Paperwork, Navigating the Legal Side of Being a Single Mama. This course is sold module by module for only $37 each, so you can pick and choose the modules depending on what your needs are right now. There are also free modules to help you with the process of leaving and up-leveling your mindset for success in all areas of your life, plus lots of one-on-one and group support. Does this make you excited? Do you want to join the empowered single mama sisterhood? Well, all you have to do is go to sarahfayschaff.com and enter your email. Then you will be put on a special list, and I will invite you when the course goes public. And I will also give you free support right away. Look, being a single mama can seem impossibly hard, but that is because of the way we have been going about it. We can change that which we want to change in our lives. This can be the most empowering season of your entire life, and you do not have to do it alone. So go to the site, the link is in the show notes, and join the Empowered Single Mama Sisterhood today. You guys, wait till you hear what I have in store for you today. I know every podcast always says that they're beyond excited for today's guest, but I know it's genuine because I am super excited for you guys to meet my dear friend, my yoga teacher, my ally in this world that we are in, and her name is Damara, and she is here on the line with us, and I'm just going to let the interview and the episode speak for itself.
and just sit back and relax, because I know you're about to feel so fed, so high vibed, so inspired by my beautiful, beautiful guest and what she has to share today. So hi, Hody.
Hi, Sarah. How are you, honey?
So happy to give the Show It Off listeners a chance to meet you and hear you and just just stoked.
Yeah, I'm really honored that you asked me to be on your show, Sarah. This is amazing. I'm really glad we've reconnected.
Me too. Me too. So it's been a long time since I saw Dana in person, but when we both lived in the Bay Area, I was the dorky, eager, excited student of hers and her amazing, fun yoga classes. I was the one sitting in the front row, just jumping out of my skin with excitement, always ready to listen to every word. And her, if you could take a yoga class and close your eyes the entire time and completely follow the sequence without ever having to look up, it's such a gift. And that is what I love about your classes, is that's what you offer, and that's how clear your speak is and your instruction, and it's really magical. So I'm really just happy that we reconnected too in this way. I never thought back then that I'd have a podcast and that you'd be a guest on it. So this is really an honor. So I know I've given a tiny intro, but for, the people who, haven't heard of you, will you please just share a little bit about who you are and what you're passionate about?
Sure. My name's Dana Damara, and I am, well, I'm a lot of things. It's funny what we put in front of the two little important words, I am, right?
Indeed.
So, yeah, so I'll say for right now in this life, I'm a mother of two teenage girls. They're 15 and 17. I've had full custody of them for 10 years now. And I met Sarah in the Bay Area. Like she said, I taught yoga in San Francisco and Marin County for a while. Before that, I owned my own yoga studio in Washington State. And now I live in Cardiff by the sea in Southern California. Still teaching yoga, but always evolving at how I deliver the message of these teachings. And, I when I say I'm a yoga teacher, I get oh, you must be really flexible. Ha 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 ha. And
Yeah.
it's so, and now I just kind of laugh, but there's so much more to these practices. I believe I'm not just a yoga teacher. I love to train teachers. I'm very passionate about people, if they're going to say they're going to teach yoga, to show up as authentically as possible. I'm also very passionate about our youth, specifically middle school to high school kids, for many, many reasons. I'm very passionate about, right now, just seeing the evolution of our world and how all the systems really are in a bit of an upheaval. And watching the astrology, I'm also an astrologist. So I read people's charts, and I've been watching the astrology, and I kind of knew something was coming, and there's some big things happening right now in the world. And
Sure.
yeah, so I dabble in a lot of things, but I think one of the things I'm most passionate about is being truthful, and however you show up, and being very authentic, being liberated from your past, like really being able to make decisions from a higher perspective as often as you can, and then really finding love in as many situations as possible. And I know that sometimes that takes a bit of time and work and effort, and that's really whatever modality brings me there, whether it's astrology or trainings or yoga on people, like that's really what I'm passionate about.
Oh, I love that. And you're also an author. I love that you didn't even mention that.
I am an author. I know, it's so funny. My mom always went on the sale of your books. Yes, I am an author. I've written 2 books, Ohms from the Mat. I actually wrote them when my kids were
1 and 3. It took me a little bit of time. Books that you can kind of pick up and just kind of open up the book to any
Mm-hmm.
page for a message for the day, which was just what I needed when I became a mom. Like, I don't even remember
Mm-hmm.
the last time I read a book cover to cover. So yeah, I wrote a couple books, and it's been quite a journey, been quite a journey over the last 10 or 11 years or so.
Absolutely. I remember when I met you just being amazed that, because I mean, it's funny looking back, but I remember when I met you, I was new to the Bay Area, had been teaching yoga for just a few years, and really had the dream of having a family. This was before I became a mom. Had the dream of having a family, a husband, and kids, and just being an author and being a yoga teacher. And I was really like intrigued by you and really amazed because part of what you shared, and you speak about being authentic, and I've always seen that about you. You're super authentic. I love it. I've also seen some people be kind of like, I don't know, uncomfortable in their skin, when I see them when they're like around people who are really super authentic. And I'm sure I've seen that, in group when we're in groups of people, and I love it. And I think it's beautiful. And I remember you were really candid about making the choice to leave an unhappy relationship and following your heart and doing what you knew was best for your life and the life of your children. And I remember being, so young and naive and just not really being able to like wrap my head around that, being like, that's all the things I want, like how could you like choose to not want that? I don't get it. And now fast forward, I don't know how many years later, maybe 9, and I've done the exact same thing. And I didn't know back then that my future self would think back on those conversations that and those like testimonials in the sense that you shared and be like, well, I've seen it done, so I know I can do it. And I know that a lot of women who listen to this show are either thinking about leaving an unhappy, sometimes even an abusive relationship, which was the case for me, and or have just left. So I'm curious if you'd be willing to speak on that a little bit for the women who are listening and are might need that inspiration or some I don't know, just story around that.
Well, first of all, I had no idea you felt that way. That's interesting. And then secondly, I want to say that I like that you use the word story, because I want to remind us all, wherever we are on this journey, that we are in a story all the time. We're always in a narrative, and even yearning and wanting something in particular, like I want that white picket fence, and I want that man, and I want we have this dream. We have
Mm-hmm.
this dream of what our life will look like. Even that is a narrative. That's a story of what we've told
Mm-hmm.
ourselves. And it really is, as you know, as well as I do, Sarah, that it's an expectation. And then when we set our expectations to a certain level, then we open up ourselves for a disappointment. So I think, if anything, these teachings have taught me to have a dream, and then be open to it showing up in divine way, as opposed to attaching. And I think that's one of the things that I've learned over the last, let's see, it was 2012, 2013. So yeah, you're right. Like, 7, 8, 9 years, just letting
Mm-hmm.
go of the story. And so I think too, even as I tell my version of the story, it's only an experience. It's only my version. It's my experience through my lens, through my very limited lens of
Mm-hmm.
where I was at that time. And I'm still going through court cases with this, with the father of my children, and even now still recognizing places where I'm fully understanding even more where he was at, where at the time I didn't even have the depth of understanding. So I'm glad you used the word story, because if we can always take a step back and dial out our aperture of where we're at any given moment, just as far as we can, and then just work from there and not expect to know everything. Because what was true for me at that time is still pretty true for me now. And so I think following our intuition is really, really powerful, and really knowing that even if we don't know it all, even if we are like, well, what if this happens, or what if that happens, or what if he does this, or what if he really does that, or what if he really means this, we have to get past all of that and just drop into how we feel. So I want to say that in the beginning, just because I think you used the word story, and that really opened up a thought for me, you know? I think the biggest thing is that you know, for me personally, I remember the day when I decided that I, excuse me, wanted to leave. And I've even told my daughters this, you know, waited till they were older, where they could kind of understand, but they still don't really get it, you know? I remember the day I was either pregnant or my daughter was real little. My now 15-year-old was real little, and he had gotten an inheritance, and I said, "This is one," and I wasn't working. I said, well, "This is wonderful. You know, we can do this with that. We can pay off our student loan with that. We can do this." And he said, "This is my money." And I remember being very triggered by that at the time, like very triggered, like, oh my God, I'm so vulnerable. I'm not working, you know, and I fell very much into fear. Now, I wasn't aware of all my fears around money at that time and about being abandoned. I wasn't aware of any of that. So I got very triggered and went into trigger mode and got really nervous, you know? So, I mean, again, I want to preface this, Sarah, by saying that my intuition was spot on. So regardless of some of the narrative or blind spots that I had at the time, because my intuition was very, very strong. I knew it wasn't the person I was supposed to be with. Dropping into that fear was a real thing. And I don't know if this is relevant, but I just, you know, what I want to say is that it's what the collective is feeling now. It's the fear that the collective is feeling. So for me right now, with the world the way it is, I'm not afraid, because I know that it's going to be okay. But at that time, I was feeling what a lot of people are probably feeling now, because my basic need potentially may have not been met. Okay. So time goes by. My daughter's now 3, you know, 2-3 years later, and I decide I'm going to leave, and I'm still in fear. It took me 5 years.
Wow.
5 years of living in a story that I knew needed to go, but I was afraid to be up by myself. I was afraid that I wouldn't be able to take care of my kids. I was afraid. And I wanted to say that in the very beginning, remember what I said? I said, the 2 most powerful words in the English language are I am. So I think something that came up really powerful for me during that time was remembering that I could create that which I wanted if I just remembered the power of my words and my intuition. And I remember going to this crystal shop. I lived in Washington State at the time, and I used to go there all the time. And I went to the owner, and I was telling her all about it, my dilemma. And I said, I don't know what to do. I'm really afraid. Like, what if I can't support my kids? And she stopped what she was doing. Her name was Kim. I'll never forget it. She stopped what she was doing. She looked me dead in the eye, and she said, well, there's no choice. You have no choice. You have to do it. So whatever doubts you have going on in your mind, you need to tune them out. And you need to drop into your feet, and you need to connect to God, divine source, whatever you believe to be true. And you need to just do it. And you need to ask for guidance every single day. And that day forward, I did. That's what I did. And I just made a decision to switch the way I was thinking about my potential and what I could do, while following my passion, while not succumbing to, you know, something that I didn't want to do for my work or my life. I wanted to be able to teach my kids that they could do whatever they wanted, without
Yes. Yes.
because I never wanted to go back and say, well, I took this dumb job because of you. Never,
Right.
never. And to this day,
No.
both my children know that I have made choices, not sacrifices, choices for all three of us. Never do we say to our children that I've made sacrifices for you. No, 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 no.
No.
So I think that, I think sitting from that place of like really trusting in our own abilities, that we are guided, and, taking on a spiritual practice, whatever it is was really, really powerful. And then you just have to turn up the volume on that, on that spiritual practice, and tune everything else out, and really know who your allies are, so you can really drop into them and ask them for support, and, with whatever you need, and know that you're going to be supported. It's a very challenging choice to make, but we have to know that the choice to stay, tightly wound in a bud, it has got to just be abolished. Like, you've got to be able to expand, and that has to get so uncomfortable for you that you just can't take it anymore.
Gosh, that's so true. Oh, I love that. You've got to be able to
You've got to be able to
expand.
expand. And when you're dealing with kids, I think you have to be smart too. I mean, obviously single situation is going to be different. Mine wasn't like an emergency situation where I had to get out, like immediately. There wasn't any physical abuse. There wasn't any, anything like that. Now, looking back, there was a lot of emotional abuse. And I wouldn't have known it back then. But looking back, there was just, I mean, we were emotionally and verbally abused. And I don't even think he meant to do it. I mean, I can honestly say, like, people aren't mean at heart. They're just wounded.
Yes.
They're just wounded.
I agree.
So, looking back, there was an abuse. I didn't feel like I had to run, but I definitely felt like I had to protect myself. And it took me a year where I didn't say anything to anybody, and I would go to the grocery store and I would buy gift cards for the grocery store, and I would hide them. And I was hiding money around the house. I was asking clients to pay me in cash, because of that one statement of, it's my money.
Yeah.
And I mean, now I don't know if I created it or not, but the day I asked for a divorce, 2 days later, my bank account was closed. Now, was that a self-fulfilling prophecy based on my fear and my actions toward my fear? Could be. Maybe if I would have talked, maybe if I would have had more tools, I could have changed the situation. But I think the outcome would be the same as it is now. I think my intuition, especially based on now the events over the past 9 years, it's the same. Right. I'm watching him live the same narrative, only now it's involving the girls. And so I feel like, I think, Sarah, if I had to sum all of that up, it's like you have to follow your intuition, and you have to not really act from a place of fear, but instead a place of strategy and intelligence.
Yes.
You can't be, can't be dumb. You can't be over dramatic. You got to let go of the story and the narrative, and always remember that it's not even about you. It's about the kids. Always.
Yep.
In those situations. So.
Wow. Thank you for sharing that. That's really powerful. And I want to, real quick, before I forget, if anyone's listening and thinking about they're in a situation where they're experiencing emotional abuse, I want to highlight this moment in your mind and let you really understand that emotional abuse is just as toxic and just as damaging and just as not okay as any other kind of abuse.
Yep.
It's very, very damaging, especially when our children are seeing us endure
Yeah. And I'll tell you,
Uh,
Sarah, I've had the privilege to raise these two teens. And
mm-hmm.
I'm only now seeing the outcome of years of them being in a toxic, witness to a toxic relationship, and then
Mm-hmm.
watching their mom's fear overshadow her ability to be present as often as she could be, and her fear
Mm-hmm.
overshadow her ability to really be present and show them how much she loves them. Now, anybody on the outside that knows me, they would go, "Are you kidding me? You've done such a great job." And I know I have, so I don't want to say like I haven't done a good job. I know I have, but I want to just really do talk to your point of like emotional abuse is huge, and it
Yeah.
actually takes longer to unravel than physical abuse.
Yes.
It really does. Mm-hmm.
Yes. I love how you mentioned that you maybe didn't realize it at the time or until you look
Mm-hmm.
back, because I can totally understand that. I really was like pulled out, like, and like forced by my best girlfriends to take a look at my relationship outside of myself, because when I was in it, I was very defensive of him, saying, "Oh, he's just under a lot of stress," or "You don't know how he is when he's being nice," or,
Mm-hmm.
defending him a lot because I loved him. And that's what we will do, and then now that I've been outside of it and I can see the dichotomy of how I feel and what my life's like and how I'm treated and my energy and everything, I'm like, whoa, sister. Like, it's
Mm-hmm.
shocking to see the difference. So I love that you mentioned that, because sometimes it takes that. It takes a loving friend, or um, just a shift in your
Mm-hmm.
environment to be able to see.
Yeah, and I
So
and I feel
good,
like I had
good.
a lot of tools. I mean, I was a yoga
Right.
teacher, and I was, really on this trajectory, this path of really being a teacher and understanding the principles of yoga. And I remember sitting in therapy with him, and we would do like couples counseling, and then we would each have like a time to speak alone. And I remember sitting with the therapist one day and saying, "I just feel like I'm evolving and he's not." And she looked at me and she
Mm-hmm.
said, "To decide how long you want to stay." And God, love these counselors and these therapists, because they don't ever want to tell you what to do. You have to figure it out on your own. And that's
Yeah.
we really have to come to our own awareness when we come to it. And no one can tell us. People could tell us the same thing over and over again, but we're not going to be ready to hear it. We're dead until we're ready to act. So I think, honestly, Sarah, and I know this sounds funny, but I think the power of meditation and the power of yoga is so important, because it peels away the layers of an illusion. We have to just be ready to meet it when we see it and drop into that intuition and just go, well, that doesn't feel right in my gut, in my heart, in my, and if
Yep.
we're, and I'm all about having a glass of wine on a Friday night. Like, I'm okay with that. But I also feel like we have
Yeah.
to be mindful of like, well, what things are we choosing to embark in or and participate in that are keeping us distracted from listening to our own intuition. I mean, I don't have an alcohol problem. Like, I love drinking wine once a week, maybe. But I remember when I was married, I would drink more. Like, he would have a beer almost every night, and it was just normal. And I would have a glass of
Mm-hmm. Me
wine every
too.
night. And then I remember thinking, like, okay, now if I really want to make a decision here, I have to be sober completely. And I just stopped drinking. I was like, I think I'm just going to not drink for a while. And
Mm-hmm.
I remember him giving me so much grief about it. And then he was like, okay, fine, whatever. I didn't tell him why, but I remember just being
Mm-hmm.
so clear after that. It was like, whoa, these things are really clouding my mind. And so I think taking on
Yeah.
practices that will support you in clearing the mind. Like, I don't cleanse to just get skinny. I cleanse so that I can clear my mind. So I think taking on
Yes.
practices that will help you help support in that. And finding your allies is really important. And really just ask. I remember praying at my altar and just saying, will you just show me a sign? I'll tell you this story, actually. You want to hear a funny story about that? So I
Yes, I
remember
love
like
stories.
praying all the time. I had my altar set up at the foot of my bed, and the girls were so little. They would sit with me while I was meditating, and they were so sweet. And I remember praying one day, like, God, I just need a sign. I'm really scared. I don't know what to do. I was really scared. And I was driving the car
Yeah.
that day, and I was sitting at the stoplight, and I was literally like, just my brain was all over the place. And I looked up across the street, and there was this big billboard, I swear to God, and it was all black. And I don't even know what it was advertising, but in the right-hand corner in white letters, it said, don't be afraid. And then there's a period, and then it said God, period. And I was like, oh
Oh
my
my
God.
gosh.
So I think like when we're really open to like
Wow.
asking for help, like, okay,
Hmm.
I got to find my friends. Okay, I have to clear my mind, because God will help you. Spirits, divine source will help you if you take your own responsibility.
Yes.
Like you have to show up too, right? And so, how can I clear my
Yes.
vessel? How can I find my friends? Okay, where can I be strategic? Where can I not be in fear? Where can I trust? And then you call in your angels and your guides, and they come and they show you. And then you have to just ask, when is it time? And then you'll know. That's
Yes.
how it worked for me anyways.
I know. I'm so glad that you're saying this. I'm over here. My neck's about to break from all the nodding I'm doing. Just nodding like crazy. I've absolutely been through all of these different parts that you're saying. I've been through the numbing due to the like overwhelming like fear and stress. I've been through the sobriety and the intention of seeking massive intuitive guidance and clarity. I've been like at the like miracle shower of flow and being just so in alignment that everything just happens really effortlessly. And I'm so thankful to say where I'm at right now. And I love how you say you have to show up and you have to do the work. And, everyone who listens to this show knows that like I am always advocating for a morning routine, waking up before your children, before your needs, like the world hit, and really taking that time to meditate and to yoga and to journal and read something inspiring. I love to listen to Abram Hicks rampages right when I wake up. Like, I mean, I just stick my earbuds in, and like while I'm doing my morning pee, I'm already listening to it is a good day. It is a good morning, and it just helps me because it's easy, especially when you're dealing with something stressful like court dates and custody and those sort of things, that your mind can easily, my mind, anyone's mind can go into negative vibes and fearful talking. And then we just attract more of that. So I love that you pointed that out, and I'm seeing the difference of when I really commit and I really get clear how beautiful life can be. And
Well, one thing
it's
I do want to
great.
say to that too, Sarah, is that first of all, it's scientifically proven that when you wake up in the morning, if you flood your brain with positive thoughts and breathing and breath work and things, do you do calm the nervous system. And so I think it's really powerful. Second thing I want to say is that if you want, at the end of your show, you can give them my website, because when people opt in, they get 5 emails sent to them, and
Yes.
it gives them a morning routine. So, and it's
Oh,
free.
I
So
love
you can do
that.
that. But the other thing I want to say too is this, and
Yes.
this is important. This is something that I've learned over the last several years, is that there's power in the pain and the fear too. Like there's power in the anger, there's power in the
Mm.
fear, there's power in the all those other feelings. So we have to be able to find the balance between where we're bypassing and just trying to like force ourselves to believe something to be true, So like, I like to look at it like this. So I'll dive down like a mermaid and I'll go into the depths. Like, let me just go to the depths and get to like, why I even want this divorce, or why I even am afraid, and what I'm afraid of. And let me excavate that out. I know now what I'm fighting or what I'm dealing with. And then I can be a sense of a positive ally to this thing, this shadow side of myself, right? Now, so we don't
Yes.
want to avert or avoid, because it'll always be laying dormant. I call it like it's dormant. It's underneath that, like, oh, I have it. It's okay. I got
Indeed.
everything. It's fine. It's fine. I'm doing my Abraham Hicks. But you know as well as I do, what Abraham Hicks says is that your emotions rule everything. So we have to honor the
Yes.
emotions, because if we're functioning at a level of like, no, everything's great, I got this, sooner or later that I got this is going to crumble if it's based on deep fear.
Yes.
Now, the other thing I've learned is that just because we're whistling Dixie and playing with rainbows and unicorns one day doesn't mean it's going to come crashing down the next. So we have to have those tools to know that this is like a journey and a wave. And because I've experienced those flows many times where I'm like, oh my God, this is so great. Like just before COVID hit, I was like, oh my God, this is so great. All my bills are paid, like all this, all of that, da, da, da. I got this plan, this plan. And then it was like, bam,
Mm-hmm.
you know? And so we have to be able to resource, we have to be able to ground, we have to be able to know that we're taken care of by the universe. Honor the feelings as you're feeling them. Like, okay, I'm afraid right now. Okay, what am I afraid of? And I remember in my meditations, I would follow that thread. Well, I'm afraid that I'm not going to make enough money. Well, is that true? No, that's not true. Okay, what are you really afraid of? I'm afraid of being alone. So you follow that thread until you get to the end. And that's constant work. Like it doesn't just end in
Yes.
2015, you know, like
Right. Right.
so I just want to make sure
Right.
that we say that, like, yes, find your rituals. And then also remember and keep doing them even when things are great. So that if shit hits the fan, you're
Mhm.
there already.
Yes, I love that. Thank you for clarifying that. And those who are in my like physical surroundings are very aware of like they're like, okay, Sarah, like you need to get dressed. You need to brush your teeth. There was definitely a season. It wasn't long, maybe a couple of weeks, maybe 3, where I was just like sobbing all day, every day, and really letting myself like with all with so much love, and just letting myself be really sad and be really mad and be really held. And I love how you said call in your allies and call in your resources and ask for support, because like, as someone who has full custody for 9 years, that like personally I live very an ocean away from all of my family. So if I'm sick or if I'm depressed or working through emotions, I still have my daughter here with me. So I had to call in resources so that, she wasn't just sitting here with me while I'm going through it, but I
Right.
didn't have to avoid either. And I really did. Like my friends really stood up and stood in and helped us, and would take her on play dates into the park and such.
Yeah.
Not park, but like because it was during COVID, but to their houses where they have like swing sets or whatever. Um, and then let me have that time, and it was really beautiful because I knew I was super supported, and like you said, able to not maneuver around the feelings, but walk straight through them. And I love that image of like, follow the thread. It's really lovely. I can totally see that in a meditative sort of way. Beautiful. Thank you. And I just want to reiterate how you said, like, okay, my fear is that I won't be making enough money, or my fear is that I can't take care of my children. And is that really true? No, because it's really that simple. Like when you really look at a fear and you're like, well, I can look at my history of my life and see that I have made money and I have taken care of myself and I have taken care of my child. So I'm like, can prove to myself that that's something that can happen. But then you also said something that ties in really well with that, which is the part of we are not our past. And we can have the option every morning and every hour and all the time to say, starting now, starting now, starting now, and create a new future, a new story, a new present.
Yeah. Yeah. It's really,
Thank you for that.
Well, my brand is Dana Damara Evolution because I feel like we're always evolving. So, when we practice, we
Yes.
just need more practice. Like practice doesn't make perfect. It just means you've got a new layer of understanding, and then you practice that for a while, and then something will come up, and then you go deeper. And so it's just this ever evolving
Yes.
acknowledgement of self. And yeah, so it's been a journey for sure.
So beautiful. And I know that we'll continue, for those of you like who are like our steady listeners, like you're going to be so benefited because we're going to continue this conversation about money and about managing money and money mindset and really like finding financial freedom as a woman raising her children without the father of her children. Maybe you're co-parenting, but either way, it's still really extremely necessary that that part of your story is healed and moving forward that you feel really supported and financially free. So we're going to keep talking about that. So if you felt that little trigger in your belly or a little like get a little sweaty around the brow when you hear the word money, like we got you. This will
No,
not
it
always
really
be the
won't.
way, I promise.
And when you do fall, like I've fallen before where I'm doing really well and then something happens and I'm losing it, and you start to recognize like, well, what is really happening here? And we recognize those triggers of where our, if you think back, remember I said my whole thing was the minute he said it's my, that was a trigger for me, but I didn't realize that that was a trigger for me at the time. I just got mad. So I think recognizing when we're triggered about
Right.
something is really important, and investigating that. And the other thing, I don't know if I'm sure you know Byron Katie. Yeah. So for
Oh yeah.
me, yeah. So for me, I mean, that was a resource for me, Sarah, that was just so powerful. Like when people ask me who my main by and Sean Korn, because Sean Korn taught me how to speak my truth and to
Yes.
use my yoga as a tool and not, I mean, she's my teacher.
Yes.
And my teacher outside the yoga room is Byron
Yes.
Katie, because Byron Katie would ask, is that true? And she just rivets you right into the truth. And she pulled me out of so much illusion about myself and about my self-worth. And I'm 51 and I still have little tendrils of things that I have to deal with. So those are two really great resources. I think, are were pretty helpful for me.
Agreed. I got the honor of meeting Sean a couple of times, Sean Korn, and my God, man, I just like get happy just thinking about those days so much. And I too really felt I saw her and was like, and you even mentioned this in the beginning about being a yoga teacher. It's so much more than just like poses or being flexible or workout or whatever. And I really saw that in Sean Korn. And I was like, wow, she's an advocate. She's a speaker. She's a teacher. She's a leader for women. And yeah, I was like, gosh, that was like 11, 12 years ago that I discovered her. And I was like, I'm going to be her when I grow up for sure. So I love that you mentioned her. She's such a powerhouse. And still to this day, every day, all the time. She's just rocking it. So speaking of resources, so everybody knows that the Empowered Single Mama online course is on its way, and it'll be available on sale starting July 5th, and it'll start at the beginning of August. But what you guys don't know is that Dana here is agreed to collaborate and share her wisdom and her teaching, and we're doing this together, which makes it so much more fun, and it's the sisterhood vibe, and I'm like extremely excited for you guys to be able to have this as a resource. And we're going to be talking about things like money and meditation and practices, like personal practices and rituals and so much more. So if you're feeling this and you're like, oh my gosh, like Sarah's right, like Dana Damara is amazing, like you're going to just go crazy over what she's going to offer on the course. And I'm just beyond excited about that. And will you please also mention the other amazing things that you have available for people? I know you have your Sunday morning I think you call it yoga
Yeah.
church, something like that. Yeah. Will you tell everybody about other
Sure, honey.
offerings
So
that you
when
have
people
to
sign up
share?
on my website, which is my name, it's just danadamara.com. And that's all A's, DANADAMARA.com. When people sign up, they get, it's either 3 or 5 emails, and I send emails with like rituals in the morning you can do, essential oils you can use, prayers you can do, different things like that. And I think it's still working. So, um, and
Yeah,
it was
I
working.
actually
Okay,
signed up
good,
not too
good.
long ago, and I did get that.
So,
Yes. Yes.
so it's really nice
Confirmed.
because people can use them. And then something I've also done is a 21-day meditation. It is free. And so if somebody wants that, they can send me an email and I'll just send them the link. And then I teach Sunday
Awesome.
mornings, yoga church at 9 a.m. I'm getting ready. Yeah, Pacific Standard Time,
California time.
9 a.m. Pacific Standard Time. So that's early for people in Hawaii. But it's kind of nice, 6 a.m. It's a great way to start off Sunday morning.
Oh,
And
yeah.
then I'm also
Yeah.
getting my own, I don't want to say my own space, but I am going to be moving into a little space to teach yoga classes, social distance, to start in the next 2 weeks here in Encinitas. So I'll be live streaming from there too. And yeah, I'm really, really excited about it. And then hopefully I'll come out to Hawaii and stream some classes from your place.
I'm going to go ahead and take that hopefully right out of that and just say you're coming to Hawaii and we're going to live stream from my place because that makes me very excited to think about. It'd be
Right?
so,
Especially because
so
our birthdays
amazingly
are right near
fun.
each other. So we could
Oh
do
my
like
gosh.
some really epic class, and I'll just
Yes.
live stream, and sweet Ava will come with me and hang out with Luna, and we'll have such a good time.
That is like making me really excited. Like Leo's celebrating birthday, doing yoga. Like, yes, our daughters, all the good stuff. It's like, yes. I'm so in. And we'll invite all of you. You can join. It'll be so much fun.
You're doing an amazing job. I'm really proud of you. You know, I don't know if your readers or your listeners know this, that you ran an organization called Miracle Girls. I don't know if they know that or not, but do they know that?
I don't know. I mean, I spoke about it a little bit in the first few episodes, but haven't in a while, so I'm not sure.
Well, all I can say,
I don't think everybody knows.
Well, all I can say is
love
that Sarah and I are soul sisters in the way that we are both very passionate about our daughters. We're both very passionate about the earth. We're both very passionate about supporting other people. And Sarah ran an organization called Miracle Girls when I started an organization called Girls Elevate. And they ran not against, but side by side each other. And then I started Youth Elevate.
It was.
And well, yours was just a little different because yours was for younger girls, and mine hit the older,
and it was.
It's just beautiful to see that.
It was perfect.
That I haven't put that away, and I know you haven't either, and I know that it will come up somewhere, somehow, and I just feel like your passion is so contagious, and I'm just so grateful that we were able to cross paths again. I'm excited for what's next.
Oh my gosh, me too. And speaking of like meditation and listening to your intuition, I mean, like I've kept an eye on you via Instagram for all these years, but I was in a meditation and I was like, it was like as if someone was just sitting next to me, like saying, "Hey, Damara, hey, Damara," and I'm like, "Okay, I hear you." And I literally just like shot you a DM on Instagram, and I'm like, "Hey, girl," and then all of these amazing things are just conspiring because of that one little nudge from my intuition, and it's just like so
we have
cool.
to listen.
So
we have
cool.
to listen, and then we have to be ready to act.
We do.
You have to know, because you can listen to your intuition all day long, but if you don't act, it's not going to matter. So you have to know that you have those allies and those resources and the tools. And when you hear that intuition calling, you've got to respond. We all know when it's time to go. We all know when it's time to leap. We just have to know that net. I remember for me, it was like leap and the net will appear. Sometimes it's what you got to do. You got to just jump and know that
Yes.
something's going to catch you.
Yes.
Yeah.
And it will. It's so true. So true. And it's those choices that get us out of, like, it might be uncomfortable, but we're getting into that discomfort is really beautiful
That's
because
right.
it shifts you out of what was, and I remember, like I mentioned a little bit ago, like just really hitting a lot of grief. And first it was depression, then it was fury, like grief, anger, like all these just really uncomfortable, shitty feeling emotions. But before that, I was really remember talking to a dear beloved sister of mine saying, you know what, I'm looking around and I'm not happy with the way my life is. Like, no, this isn't right. Like, this is off. Like, I'm like close but no cigar, and something really big needs to change. And like the
Yeah.
universe was like, oh, I hear that, and it was just like one thing after the other. It was like just shoving me out of what I knew. And now, not even that, this was all in like 3 months. So much better is my life and so much happier are each hour of my day. And it's just really cool. It's really cool to see what can happen. Like when you, like you said, you know, be clear, listen to the intuition, and then take inspired
Yeah.
action and follow that
Yeah.
intuition.
For
So
sure.
thank you.
Anytime. That was fun.
I'm getting so excited. I'm like so happy for you that you're going to go on a walk with your friend right now, because my body's like vibrating with
Oh,
so much
I've just
energy. I
been
want to like
this,
run down the
I
street.
feel
So
so grateful
yay.
where we live because I can walk to the ocean. So I've been making it a point to do it every day, because otherwise
Yes.
when we don't touch Mother Earth in some way, we start to forget that deep connection that we have.
Yes. And look at that. Hear that energy? There's energy everywhere. And on that note, I'm going to let you go and thank you again so much for your wisdom, your presence, taking the time, being you, just being your perfectly imperfect, authentic,
I love you
awesome
too.
self. I love you. And thank you, everybody who's here listening. I received that. Thank you. And
Thank you so
I'll
much,
be in
Sarah. That was a
touch. We'll be
blessing. Have
talking
a beautiful
soon.
day, honey. We'll talk soon. All right. Bye-bye.
Yes. Bye-bye.
Every play of this show means the world to me. Thank you for your time and for listening. I'd love to hear from you now. Questions and comments are welcomed at showitoffpodcast@gmail.com. Thank you for subscribing to the Show It Off podcast. And if you have a moment, if you could leave a review on iTunes, it would help other people to find this message of confidence. You could also help someone build confidence by texting this episode to at least one person now. Being self-loving means being authentic, bold, and confident. So shamelessly and unapologetically show it off.